Standing at the top of your mat in mountain pose, Tadasana. Pushing down into the feet, stretching the arms up above the head, looking at the thumbs. Bending forward from the hips, taking the hands flat onto the mat. Coming onto the fingertips, looking forward, straight back and down again. Now we're going to stretch the left arm up to the sky, rotating, looking up towards the thumbs. If we want more, we can take the hands behind the back in a semi-bind, grabbing the thigh. We're going to take this for 5 breaths or whatever is comfortable. Releasing the hand down again, coming onto the tips of the fingers, straightening the back and back into forward fold. Coming onto the tips of the fingers, taking the right arm up, looking up at the thumb. Taking the bind behind the back onto the thigh if this is comfortable too. Remembering to breathe, we're going to take 5 breaths and then we're going to come back into full forward bend. Tips of the fingers and then taking the right foot back, left foot back into high plank. Chaturanga, upward facing dog, over the toes and popping ourselves into downward facing dog. So placing the feet so they're comfortable. Bouncing around here, the first downward dog of the day. So flexing the legs, coming up into 3-legged dog, extending the right leg up, bouncing in the 3-legged dog, taking the foot towards the buttocks. Remembering to push into the hands, shoulders away from the ears and flipping over. If we can, if this is available to you, coming into wild thing posture. Holding this for 5 and then back to downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Just bouncing. First routine of the morning, warming up, coming onto the tips of the toes, opposite leg, extending, rotating the ankles and the feet. Just relaxing, releasing any tension in the ankles, taking the heel towards the buttocks, opening up those hips. Opening and extending. Coming into wild thing if this is available. If not, just continue taking the heel to the buttocks. Opening up, lifting up with the chest. And coming back into high plank. Chaturanga Dandasana, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Downward facing dog, placing the feet. Again, bouncing, taking the shoulders away from the ears, a slight bend in the elbows, pushing down into the fingertips. Rotating the hips. Bouncing, coming onto the toes again. Right leg up and back. Now taking the foot forward between the hands and coming in to low lunge. So dropping that knee down, keeping the toe turned, extending the arms up to the sky, shoulders back and down away from the ears, all muscles active. Pulling that torso upwards, engaging the navel, Uddiyana Bandha. Placing the hands and coming back to downward facing dog. Relaxing into Adho Mukha Svanasana. 3-legged dog. Back into scorpion tail, taking the foot forward and again into low lunge on the other side. So bringing those hips down, opening up. With each exhale, just extending down a little further towards the mat. Fingertips towards the sky, shoulders back and down, slight bend in the elbows. Take the hands to the mat and back into downward facing dog. Taking a bounce in the dog, releasing the hips, the groin, the lower back. Onto the tiptoes, back into 3-legged dog. Rotating the ankles and the feet into scorpion tail. And from scorpion tail, we're then going to take the leg forward into lizard lunge. So dropping the knee down, taking the front of the foot to the mat. And we're just going to walk that right foot to the outside of the mat, so take it a little bit wider. If it's available to us, we'll take the elbows down to the mat and we're just going to rock from side to side, just allowing the hips to open in lizard pose. If you can take the forehead to the mat. You can stay up on the fingertips, keeping the torso upright if this is what's accessible to you. just allowing those hips to gently open. With each exhale, taking the left hip slightly lower down towards the mat. Coming back up onto the hands, we're going to take the right elbow to the right knee and then the right hand to the right knee. So pushing the right knee open, coming on to the outside of the right foot as we're opening up those hips wider. Placing the hands down and back into high plank. Taking a chaturanga, upward facing dog, rolling over the toes into downward facing dog. Release the shoulders, flexing the feet, allowing those hips to release completely. Uddiyana Bandha, and up into three-legged dog, into scorpion tail, and taking that foot forward to the outside of the left arm. Again, walking the foot out about a hand's width distance. So just really opening up that hip. Taking the elbows down if it was accessible on the other side. You may find one side more open than the other. This is completely normal. Forehead to the mat if this is available to you also. And with each exhale, just lowering the hip and the groin further down to the mat. Take the hands back to the mat, opening up the left side. So pushing the elbow or the hand against the left knee. So really opening up the hip and the groin here. Extended lizard coming onto the outside edge of the foot. And coming back to high plank. Chaturanga Dandasana. Upward facing dog into downward facing dog. And just relaxing your down dog here. Engaging the Uddiyana Bandha, take the navel back to the spine, pulling up with the hips, engaging the muscles of the legs, pushing into the heels, and the fingertips, pads of the hands, shoulders back and down away from the ears, remembering Ujjayi breathing. Inhale, the same length as the exhale. Looking towards the navel, taking the knees to the chest, we're going to jump or walk forward, and we're going to come into a seated Baddha Konasana or cobbler pose position with the heels together. Now you can take the feet further away from the body if that's what's comfortable for you, and you can flex the knees in butterfly pose if this helps you to gently open the hips a little easier. Now if this is very uncomfortable, you can take blocks under the knees too. If it's available, we're going to start to walk the fingertips forward, taking the forehead towards the mat. Now you can use a block or a bolster here to place the head, or you can stay in an upright position. Now we want to keep the back as straight as possible, and we remember to breathe. So engaging Uddiyana Bandha, the navel lock here, so that we can extend more and come forward. And we're going to take 5 breaths here, just enjoying the hip opening. Remembering to breathe, inhale, equaling the exhale. Then we're going to walk the hands out to the left side. And again, extending forward if this is available to us. Walking the hands over to the opposite side, taking the head down. Again, you will find one side easier than the other. Just enjoying the stretch in the lower back, the thoracic spine, the cervical spine, and protecting the neck. And coming back to the center. Lowering that head down, making sure it's not uncomfortable on the neck. And relax here, just breathing, feeling those hips opening. So now we're going to come into double pigeon pose. We're going to take the right leg over the left, so the knees should be parallel with the ankles on both sides. We're going to raise the arms up, inhale, and as we exhale, again, we're going to come forward, taking the head to the mat if this is available. If not, we can rest the chin on the hands, or we can stay in an upright position. Now, if your hips are very tight, you may find this difficult. If this is too much for you, you can come into simple cross-leg position, Sukhasana, and bend forward from here. Now remember, we're bending from the hips, and we're trying to keep the back as straight as possible. Again, rotating from one side to the other, so going over to the right hand side and extending those hands, allowing the lower back to open up. The entire length of the spine opening, keeping the shoulders away from the ears and remembering to breathe. Moving over to the other side. Walking those fingertips away from the body, allowing a further stretch both sides of the body, the entire length of the spine. Inhale, equaling the exhale. So we continue to breathe. And back to center. From this position, we're going to come into wide legs seated forward bend. Pointing the toes up to the sky, the calves and the back of the thighs, engaging with the mat if this is available to you. If not, you can bring the legs closer together. From here, again, we're going to inhale, and on the exhale, we're going to extend forward from the hips, walking those fingers forward, then walking them to the opposite side. If it's available to us, we can grab the foot, aiming the head towards the foot or the ankle, taking the stomach and the chest towards the foot before the head goes to the ankle. If we want to use a strap here, we can do this too. Just binding the strap around the foot, pushing away with the foot, pulling with the arm. Again, making sure those feet are pointing upwards, toes pointing upwards. Inhale, exhale. And eventually coming back to center. So continuing to breathe, maintaining your Ujjayi breath throughout. And from here, coming on to all fours position, we're going to pop up into downward facing dog. Coming onto the tips of the fingers, three-legged dog, heel towards the buttocks of scorpion, and forward into pigeon pose. Ekapada Raja Kapotasana. So just edging that right foot forward, so trying to keep the front leg parallel to the body, if that's available. If not, that's okay. Extend the back leg out, front of the foot touching the mat. Bending forward if this is available. If not, we can stay in an upright position. Coming onto the fingertips, and from here, we're going to take the heel towards the buttocks. Again, only if it's available, looking over the back shoulder, over that foot. If this is too much, we can just stay in standard pigeon pose. Okay. From here, coming back into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Coming onto the tips of the toes and into three-legged dog on the opposite side. Scorpion tail and into pigeon. So taking that left foot parallel to the body, so the front leg should be straight as possible, extending the back leg out, front of the foot against the mat. If we have it available, we can take the head forward to the mat, or resting the hands on the chin, or sitting upright. Taking a few breaths here. Inhale, exhale. Coming back to the fingertips and taking the right foot towards the right buttock, looking over the right shoulder towards the back of the room. So we have a few variations here. Again, we can use a strap if we want to do that. If it's available, taking the foot into the nook of the elbow, extending those arms away from the body if possible, looking up to the sky. So this is coming into a full mermaid pose here. Slowly releasing and back into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog, and just resting here. Jumping forward, tips of the fingers straightening the back into full forward bend, just feeling nice and relaxed. Hips are open and released. Namaste.